Ms. Jurgensen asked me to come in and just speak to you about the opportunities in band instrument repair, and I've been in it for a number of years, and I just wanted to come in and just let you know what some opportunities are there. I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio. That's where I went to school, and I played saxophone and clarinet. I'd always liked working with my hands, so I did a little research and found a school in Wisconsin that I could learn how to repair instruments. So I'd still be involved in music, but I could do work on the other end, and that would be working with repairing stuff instead of, teaching it or playing it. 4 weeks in the dent department just learning how to take dents out of instruments. You spend about 12 weeks learning how to repair clarinets or flutes or saxophones in the woodwind department. Then you have a soldering department, that's how the instruments are put together, is with solder. You learn how to buff the instrument, do all the cleaning processes with it. It was an intense training, but it's over a year's period of time. 1991 is when I bought the repair department at Bean Music Company and turned it into independent music service, and we've been in business since then. At that point in time, I had 3 employees, myself and 2 other fellows. Right now, I have 5 employees here in Sherwood, and we have another location up in Fayetteville right now where I have 2 employees. My employees have come from repair schools. The other ones are one that they've apprenticed with us, and we've taught them the business. Trained actually 3 of our guys that way. They started out working for us in the summertime in between when they come home from college. From there, once they got their degree, then they came out, and as I needed employees, they came back to me, and we worked them into the system and gave them an entire training. There are 4 certified repair schools that are still in existence. The one that I went to is not in existence anymore. They are strictly repairing instruments. They're not teaching any students anymore. Those schools are usually, the entire training is done within a 1 to 2 year time period. 3 of the 4 of the schools that are out there right now are connected with a college. So you've got to take some college prep courses before you can even get into their program. It's very intense and very rigorous. I mean, you're on a time schedule. You only have this much time to learn a certain operation and then this much time to learn the next operation. So it's a little bit more, it's a lot more structured, but it's over a much shorter period of time. Those 4 schools that I was talking about, one is Minnesota State College in Red Wing, Minnesota, which is way north and it's way cold. The other one is Western Iowa Tech Community College, and that's in Sioux City, Iowa. The other one that's connected with a college is Renton Tech School in Renton, Washington. So there is no school very close to here. The other one is it's a school. It's not connected with a university. It is actually a place where they're doing band instrument repair, just like the place that I went to. It's actually in the same town. It's in Elkhorn, Wisconsin. It's called Badger State Repair. With them, they take on 6 students every year, and that's it. They just take on 6. On the other ones, of course, they have a much, since it's connected with the college and everything, they'll take 20 to 30 students and work them in through the course of the year. Tuition for the first 3 schools that I mentioned is around $7,000, and they usually require you to have another $1,000 to $1,500 in supplies, which is supplies and tools that you'll need to do your job. Badger, I'm sure, has some requirements like that. I just don't know what they are, and I don't know what the cost of that school is either. I'm sure it's relatively high since they're only taking on 6 students. So there are fewer places that are hiring for this business or for this job. And of course, the internet has a lot to do with that. There's a lot less music stores because so many instruments are being purchased over the internet instead of going to your local music store. And of course, then if there's less stores, there's going to be less repair technicians. lot of the instruments that we have at this point in time, I mean, we're in a throwaway society, and a lot of the instruments that are coming out these days are not of the highest quality. And you use it, and when it breaks down, you just kind of get rid of it and get something else, because they're not very well built to begin with, so it's not worth putting the money into it. Having said that, even though there are fewer jobs, if you can come out and you can do a good job, come out of a school or go through an apprenticeship program, and you know what you're doing, you can get a job. Because everybody wants a quality employee, a quality person who can do a good job. Is there any questions on anything?
You said earlier the government had regulations on doing the instruments from.
On the refinishing process that we were doing, some of the chemicals that we would have to use for the cleaning process, because after you would buff an instrument, you have to clean it with trichloroethylene or perchloroethylene to get all the grease off of it, so that when we go through the lacquer process, so the lacquer would actually stick to the metal. Some of those chemicals that we were using in the final end of the process, some of the buffing compounds that we were using, I don't know if you've ever seen a buffing machine or a buffing wheel, where it's just a big motor, okay, with two arms coming out of it and a wheel on the end, and then you put a coating on that wheel, and depending on how much metal you want to take off, it depends on the kind of coating. Those coatings, once you put it on that wheel and melted it into there and then put it into the atmosphere, you had to have then a system to collect those fumes and then filter them in before they go back into the atmosphere. So all that kind of equipment. Even the chemicals that we use to strip the lacquer off, which you just tear down the instrument and then you put it in this tank. It's a heated tank with chemicals that are harmful to you, so OSHA and the other government entities have their hands in it. So yeah, there's all kinds of regulations.
I have a couple questions.
Sure.
Okay, so, is it, all repair technicians are not players necessarily, though?
True. In my particular case, and with my business, everybody's a player. Everybody's specialized. We've got, say the Sherwood shop, we've got 2 woodwind technicians, 2 brass technicians. My brass technicians, I've got 1 trumpet player, 1 French horn player. In my woodwinds, I've got one's a flute player, one's a saxophone player. My flute player can also play oboe and bassoon, and also does string work. So we're really very specialized, and everybody's a player. Every instrument that goes out of our shop is played before it goes out. Years past, yes, well, when I first started, we had a couple of guys that were not players. But we found that you were constantly missed something. So that's the reason we went with the philosophy that we needed to have players. So they're players, then they're technicians. Years ago, we bought a machine which it basically vibrates ultrasonic through sound waves, vibrates the water, and it's got a cleaning solution in it. So it's actually the solution is loosening everything in it, and then with the vibration, it's breaking it up so that when we're done, we pull it out, we rinse it out, and we can rinse every bit of crud out of the instrument. It's just like when you go to a jewelry store and they have a little ultrasonic thing where you can get your jewelry cleaned, like if you got a ring that's really dirty, and they'll put it in this little thing and it'll clean it. We have one that ours is 100 gallons. So it's big enough to put sousaphones in, tubas, and everything else.
Can you help us understand, when we send an instrument in, sometimes when we get the bill back, it seems expensive to have an instrument repaired, even if we send a clarinet in for 1 pad, but then it ends up needing 3 pads. Can you help us understand why we're looking at the pad that's fallen off, but it needed 3?
That's a good point. I mean, if you look at a clarinet and you see 1 pad that's fallen off, and maybe it's down here at the bottom, and you send it in to get that 1 pad replaced. But when we look at it, we look at the upper part of the instrument, and we see, well, 2 of them up here are leaking or have cracks in them, or the skin is split or something. We can replace that one, but that's not gonna make it, I mean, it'll make that one note down there play, but it's still gonna be difficult to play because these other two up here, or three up here are still leaking. It's a reason that we'll, in most cases, call, like you said, with an estimate and say, okay, I know you wanted this one, but we've got these other two that need to be replaced also. So if we go ahead and replace all of them, you're gonna be in good shape, good playing shape, rather than just replacing this one that's gonna be good for the moment. I mean, this is gonna make it so it's last for a while.
Go along with, you have a certain pride in the work that comes out of your shop. You have a certain reputation regionally, not just within the state, but regionally in the United States. If a customer insisted, and then the customer may be a band director and said, no, I just want that one pad replaced, where does that fall in to customer relations? What do you have to do?
Well, it's a learning process. It's I've got to trust you and you've got to trust me. As a customer, you need to trust me, trust my opinions, and I have to trust you as a customer that you know that I'm doing the right thing. You know, sometimes we can't avoid it. Sometimes we just have to do what the customer wants. But in most cases, we will encourage strongly that if you want the instrument to play properly, that you need to have this bigger job done on it for it to work. Go ahead and just do the foot joint part on it, but there'll be a disclaimer on that ticket that says it needed this much, we only did this much. So when you get it back and it's still not playing properly, you need to realize that you need to get this full job done to get playing properly. So yeah, you have to do it every once in a while. We don't like to do it. None of the guys like to do it. They want it fixed properly so that it keeps our reputation, because you do run into a situation. I mean, so we did this little bit of work, and she got her flute back, and then boy, this thing's not playing. Well, then she tells her other people in the section, man, I just got this flute back from the shop, and it's still not playing. Well, it makes us look bad, but we told you in the first place, you need to have this other work done. So yeah, we don't like to do it at all, but sometimes. More of the end of our summers are the worst part. This business is very seasonal. When you guys are out of school, that's when I get everybody's horns in. That's when we're doing all the maintenance work on them. That's when we're getting them all ready for school again. That crunch time when it's 2 weeks before school and everybody's saying, hey, I'm starting marching band next week. I need your horn back and da da da. And it's, you know, we've been known to work from 5 in the morning to 6 in the evening sometimes just to try and get stuff done that time of year. It gets really hectic, and come summertime, I put on 4 extra people in the shop. So we're running a production line, I mean, just constantly everyday production to try and get stuff done. But yeah, that's probably the worst part. I guess the best part is just before the summer starts.
You've been doing this a long time, so I'd like if you can think of maybe a story or two of strange things you've seen. I'll give you a chance to think about it. My second question is, why can I not chew gum or eat candy when I play my trumpet? People show me that for years. Why is that? Right? Why can't we chew gum when we play our trumpet?
Well, you can, but it just has to come in to see me more often, that's all.
What does it tell us what it does?
Well, it's with gum or with candy or anything like that, the sugar and all that stuff, if it's in your mouth when you're getting ready to play your horn, it's going to be in your horn, because all your saliva's in the horn. I mean, it's one of the things that we found early on with Yamaha trumpets, okay? They, in their cleaning process of a new trumpet, they weren't cleaning out all of the acid that they used their final cleaning on the instrument. So when someone would start playing the instrument over a few months' time, the mouth pipe on it, the saliva would actually react, make the acid in there react again or become live again. It would actually start eating through the brass. And brass is made up of zinc and copper, and it would actually eat the zinc out and leave the copper. So you'd have these little red marks all up and down your mouth pipe. And you could just barely touch one of those. So anything that you're putting in the horn is there, and it's gonna cause problems. It's gonna gum up your valves, sugary stuff is gonna gum up your valves if you're drinking Coke or something like that. It's gonna gum up stuff. And, it's gonna cut down on the life of the horn. It really is. Now, odd things that we've seen, oh my gosh. Horn playing very stuffy, baritone. It actually was a horn that came in from a shop down in Louisiana. And we were putting it through the cleaning process, and as we were, you put it through this cleaning process, and then you fill it up with water, and then you twist it around to dump the water out of the bell, out drops a rat. And I'm like, oh, okay. This rope you got up in there got stuck. We've seen where trumpet players that didn't have valve oil decided they would use vegetable oil. It happens. And vegetable oil, first of all, after it sits in the case for a while, really starts smelling bad. Really smelling bad. But the other thing it locks up the valves completely. We've had them where we've had to soak them and soak them and soak them to try and break that down enough to where we can actually get the valves to even come out. Because they're just stuck solid. Stuck solid. But yeah, the smell can really be bad in that instance too. With clarinets, there's a bug that can get in your case. It will actually eat the felt out of your pads. Your pads on a clarinet they got a cardboard back, then they have a piece of felt, and they have fish skin over the top of it. And they will eat their way through the fish skin and get into the felt and eat all the felt up. Most times when we see them, the bugs are dead. But there has been a few times when they haven't been, and it's pretty gross, to say the least. That is one part of the industry that's really different than when I started. There's a whole lot of specialty people out there that will do all kinds of specialty work, and boy, do they charge for it. I mean, where's one manufacturer of flute pads that before they'll even sell you the flute pad, before they'll sell me the flute pad, I know what I'm doing, before they'll sell me the flute pad, I have to go and take a month training course up at his shop so I can learn his particular techniques of learning how to use those flute pads. And then the flute pads, like a set of pads for a flute are gonna be, a couple $100 for just the pads, not putting them in, just the pads. Of course, now those pads are probably being used on a $30,000 flute.